And today we are joined by someone whose story perfectly represents the heart of hospitality and the future of travel tech. Before most people had ever even heard of the internet, my dear guest, Kay Walten, was already reshaping how travelers connect with destinations. From cave diver to digital pioneer, she helped and shaped the rise of Riviera Maya, building one of the Mexico's first online reservation systems back in 1996, which is amazing. She has been leading hospitality innovation ever since. She's a founder of Smart Pineapple, which is, by the way, great name. And today she will share her storytelling and how AI can help hotels, vacation rentals, and destinations attract the right guests and grow direct bookings without corporate budgets or buzzwords. So before we start, I would like to call you, the attendees here and the live, to comment from where you are watching, and just in the meantime, put your questions here in the comments if you have some. So Kay and I will answer at the end of the session. Okay? Just put from which country, city you are attending, and I will put you here at the stage, so to say. In the meantime, I'm truly honored, and it's a great pleasure for me to have such a wonderful guest as Kay Walten. Kay, welcome to the show.
Ivan, thank you so much. I don't know if everybody can see, but Ivan has me totally blushing with such an introduction like that. The mic drop is early. Thank you so much, Ivan. You flatter me to no end. I appreciate it, and it's an honor to be here and to be a guest.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The honor is mine. So, Kay, before we dive into the technical side, let's start with your journey, which is, as I said, freaking awesome, to be honest. You had one of the most fascinating paths, at least for me, that I have ever heard in tourism, from underwater exploration to online booking innovations. How did all this story started?
Oh, it's amazing. It's where to start is exactly right. One of my passions has always been scuba diving, and I was working in marketing and advertising in the United States, but fell in love with scuba diving, and that led me into underwater cave exploration. I became a cave diver in that, and I was given an opportunity to move to Mexico, where I was at the time I was leading like a couple trips a year down there and taking other cave divers down, and I had the opportunity to go down to Mexico, offered a job for $400 a month to go work at a dive concession at the very first all-inclusive resort in Mexico. And so I would work during the day and teach people how to blow bubbles in the pool, and then in the evenings I was in the jungle, or on my time off in the jungle, with some other great, amazing explorers, and we were exploring underwater caves. And a lot of people, if you're familiar with the Riviera Maya, the caves are referred to as cenotes. Essentially, they're sinkholes, and we jump in, and the caves go horizontal underground, and we're there to map them to find out where they're going. One of the things is that people don't pay you to explore. You do it because you love it. And one day, literally sitting at happy hour, someone said, there's this new thing called the internet, and maybe you could get divers to come to Mexico, and you could rent them a place to stay. Well, that's all that started. The first name, the company name was called Loco Gringo. And we started with 8 properties, and I literally walked around with a brochure and said, there's this thing called internet, and see your brochure here? I'm going to give you a web page, and we're going to do reservations. And they're like, what? And we were born. We went from the initial 8 properties all the way up to we've had, as many as 300 or so. Some of them we manage the physical properties as well. We're always engaging with guests. We were the unofficial DMO actually before the Riviera Maya wasn't even a thing then, and and so in building this website, we have to keep in mind is I failed out of computer engineering. All right. So I had gone into marketing and communications, which actually worked well for me. But I learned to hand code. There was no WYSIWYG products to drag and drop. So I learned to hand code our website, JavaScript. I ran my own Windows NT server and everything. And so it was really self-taught. And to give everybody a little perspective, I didn't have a phone line. I had to drive a half hour to a public phone to do dial-up. And the banking institutions were not online. I flew to Houston one day, went to Bank of America, said, I want to take credit cards online. And literally the representative said, the banking industry will never be on the internet because it's not safe. I found a workaround. Some guy in a coffee shop said, sign here, gave him $700. And suddenly I'm taking MasterCard, Visa, Discover, and American Express. So really kind of through duct tape and wire ties, put this business together and started what became, and I didn't realize it then, the first OTA. And this was before Airbnb or the word vacation rentals was a thing. And it was a great thing. I had the company for 23 years and sold the company in 2019. And I'm proud to say that a lot of the staff that worked for me still work for the brand down in Mexico.
I have only one word for this: incredible. This is incredible. You basically become the unofficial DMO of the Riviera Maya back in the 90s. This is like really, really amazing, and sincere congrats on this path, because it's absolutely unique. So most people don't realize what it meant back then to build digital tourism before Google was even invented, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's amazing. So you've written and spoken a lot about storytelling over attraction lists. Why do you think stories still matter so much for destinations and hospitality brands particularly?
I think I will say this is that they do still matter, but for some people, they don't realize how much they really do matter. Storytelling, especially when we're coming from the lens of hospitality and tourism, that comes from a place of looking at the people, the place, the purpose, and what kind of transformation can we give our guests. And too many times, I think, because a lot of people are not trained in marketing and they're kind of just going with their gut, is we get caught up in selling features and benefits. We have a heated swimming pool. Here's a fire pit. Here's a king size bed. We have a spa. But what do those items mean? And storytelling is a way to humanize and personify a property or an experience, to really put that person in that mindset. So it's also flipping the script and saying, look how great my property is. Look how great my destination is. It is focusing the lens on that potential guest, that potential visitor, and saying, this is the transformation that you're going to experience. And this is the true strength in storytelling versus selling features and benefits, is that we're looking to transform the way people experience our destination or our property. And that is why it resonates and it hits those emotional heartstrings and those feelings and the subliminal messages we have in our brains. That storytelling helps put that person there and to drive that desire, and that especially early on in the customer journey, to help drive the desire. So it's maybe not that we've ever really that it's still relevant. What I challenge people to do is to think of, are you telling a story or to look at some of the messaging and say, oh, you know what? I am still selling features and benefits. How can I change this?
Amazing. Just to say hi and hello to our attendees. There are more of them, but they are not commenting from which country and city they are attending. I would say hi to Tu Hang from London, and also to Jesse from Denver. There are more people here. I would kindly ask you to just comment from which country, city you are attending, so we can put you on the stage. So Kay, what's one story you've seen that truly moved guests or changed bookings?
I'm going to go back, especially if any of you have been to the Riviera Maya or the Tulum area. This one example will resonate, but it doesn't. You don't have to be familiar, but you'll understand the concept. There is a little hotel in Tulum, Mexico, Cabañas Tulum, that opened in 1972. Probably before some of you listeners were even born. And I was still in grade school.
For example, me.
There you go, Ivan. And everybody knew it back in the day. It was a casual place on the beach with cabañas and everything. It had hammocks instead of beds. There was no electricity and everything's. And people were coming to this property in the 70s and the 80s because they were escaping the world. It came down to living life in its simplest form. And it was for people who were looking for a little bit of adventure. And over the years, the property has grown, and it's been modernized, including air conditioning and electricity and proper beds. It's one of my most favorite places. But what they have done is, although it has been modernized, is they always have tried to keep their original spirit. They never tried to make it something that it wasn't, and they really embraced that history. And in doing so and repeating their history in marketing copy over the years and things, they're able to still attract people who are looking for that vibe. They didn't kind of ignore their history. They didn't ignore where they were coming from. They were relating the story of where they came from and how people feel and have felt over the years being at that property. And they continually are one of the top properties in the Tulum area to this day, because they've embraced their whole history and yes, they've modernized, but they never gave up that simplicity of being out on the beach, being in the environment, being amongst the Mayan culture and everything. And they've taken that story and have modernized it to the point where people are still having that same experience as some of the people who were there in 1972. They just might be a little bit cooler because there's air conditioning now.
Excellent. There are some more people here posting from where they are attending, and also Cassandra says it's so wild to know how far we've come. What a wonderful story, Kay. And also Peggy says Brooklyn. Cassandra says hello from Los Angeles. And Emmanuel says, nice to be here, friend. Hi, Emmanuel. So why do so many small operators still rely on photos and prices instead of stories, even in this era, in AI era, so to say?
In the AI era, well,
but it's not related only to AI era. It's relatable even before.
I think it goes back to, and I'm gonna pick car sales just because cars, right? Yeah. With features and benefits. It's an automatic transmission and you get X number of kilometers per liter of petrol. And for people who aren't familiar in marketing and sales, they still get caught up. So features and benefits, here's features, here's a picture of it. We have a swimming pool, here's a picture. Pictures are super important, and I'm not undermining the value of photography, quality photography. I remind everybody, if you haven't updated your photos, do so. But quality photography and current photography is definitely needed. But I think a lot of people are still relying on the features and benefits. And when it comes to AI, I think that it is still new and an early day of adoption, is that they are not seeing the power to be able to maybe help tell the story. Not everybody is a natural marketer, a natural writer, a natural storyteller. And when they look at AI, not necessarily knowing everything about it or having very limited experience, is that they go, oh, well, that would be a nice to have as opposed to a must have. And if they would to go beneath scratching the surface of what AI is, no matter what your preferred tool is that it can help find those stories that to you, the operator, or to you, the destination, chamber of commerce or destination marketing organization, is that you don't realize there's a story there. And when we think about even like a little coffee shop down the road, I go by it every day. I don't care about it. But you know what? There's a story there. And that story might not be anything special to you, the operator, because you see it every day, but to a guest in that coffee shop that's been open, by somebody's grandmother and gone through the history, and that story resonates with people. And more, especially I think with all of technology, we want to connect with people, and the AI can help filter what stories can be told, and maybe even come up with a little bit of it's looking at it through a different lens for people who are not used to telling stories. And the other advantages, and we look at storytelling and using AI, is that AI can do a lot of repetitive tasks for people. And in that process of doing those repetitive tasks for the operator or for the tourism associations, it allows all of us to do our job in hospitality better, which is to be human. We want to tell the story firsthand. Oh, do you love that cup of coffee? Or do you love that pastry? I got it from this baker who's been baking since, 1985 using, special recipes. And it's those stories that now we have time to tell. And I'll give a great example. I was just in a hotel in New Hampshire a few weeks ago, and the owner of the hotel was Instagramming pictures of desserts. And I said, oh, you taking pictures of desserts? Well, it just wasn't desserts. The pride that she did was because these were recipes that her mother had done, and her mom was baking in the restaurant kitchen until she was 99 years old. And she took time to tell me that story. And so now I am a big fan of her restaurant and the history that came with that. So is AI is doing some of these mundane tasks that we all have. It gives us time to be human.
Absolutely, I agree. And the story is fantastic. So you've been helping the small brands use AI tools to strengthen their story. So what's, in your experience, what's the biggest misconception they have about AI and storytelling?
Oh, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that they're not seeing it as a must-have. To use it as a sounding board, to use it as a point of reflection, where you can do a brain dump in it, and it will help organize ideas, organize that story, help with messaging to convey that story for users or for your ideal guests. And the wonderful thing about AI these days is it is giving, I don't want to say it's going to level the playing field, because I remember the internet was going to do that and then it changed. I mean, but AI, to embrace it now, is giving the opportunity to get messaging correct to tell the stories and to reach target audiences or those ideal guests, to reach out to them now and to start crafting their own message, building their own brand, as opposed to, think of it this way, it's very simple. If you don't tell your story, somebody else will. And who would you rather have tell the story? So I think that people have to give up the misconception that there's a lot of misinformation. There can be misinformation, and it is not a perfect product, but it can definitely be a tool to help craft that storytelling and that messaging that you want to get across for people. And I think if they start seeing the results, they're going to realize that this is a must-have in their day-to-day operations 7 days a week.
Absolutely. You often say that, maybe that's already relatable to this question. You often say that AI should enhance humanity or human voice, not replace it. So what does that look like in hospitality, in your point of view?
The humanity comes in. One, as I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, was that it frees you up to have that time and to build that one-on-one relationship with a customer or a visitor to an area. But what it can do is to help draft that messaging. And what people really need to understand is that AI is something that they can edit, and it must be edited and proofread. And it is allowing you to put your own voice, your own words to it. You don't have to sound like a brochure. You don't have to sound corporate. You can get the AI through training it and giving it the right context, and you can get a better quality result out of it so that your brand is coming through, your messaging, so that you sound like you. If people read a lot, I am a prolific writer, and people read that. The way I'm speaking today, this is the way I write. It's no fluff, kind of, not so much on the sophistication. Remember, I spent a lot of time in the jungle. So, I'm kind of a down and dirty type person.
Experience.
I'm the boots on the ground type person. So, but you can get the AI to express those types of things. And so you still need to engage with it, just like you would have an intern or an assistant. And if you look at it that way, as an intern or an assistant, and you can say, oh no, I want to phrase my sentences this way, or I want to use these expressive words. Our food isn't just delicious, it's mouth-watering, or toe curling, or something like that. But you can inject your personality in that, so people aren't, so emails are not robotic. And that robotic messaging, yes, can it come across? Yes. But if you do your due diligence and craft the message and really edit, you can really have a powerful piece. And what really is a strong advantage to people who spend the time with it is that you are saving yourselves thousands and thousands of dollars with consultants or something who will probably do the same thing. But they can do it themselves. And for smaller businesses that really want to keep control of their brand and their messaging, then it is a great opportunity for doing that, especially if their budgets don't allow the luxury of having a consultant or a marketing firm.
Absolutely. It's also relatable. If we already stated this, then we can pass it away. But can you share a simple, practical example of how a small hotel or a vacation rental can use AI on a daily basis, or each week, each month, whatever, without losing its personality? And how do you help your clients keep the human voice in all these automation processes?
One of the simplest ways people can use on a daily or even a weekly basis, look at that AI as your idea partner. Maybe not your voice, so to say, but to get started with it as your idea partner. And every week, ask the AI to maybe brainstorm a social media post, an arrival email, maybe a blog idea, and start with and have it based on actually what's happening at your property. Maybe you're getting ready for the holiday season, or it's Valentine's, it's Valentine's weekend and everything. And you give it that little bit of context, and it will help create some of that content for you. And you can say, we're getting ready for the Christmas holidays, for example, and we're putting up the tree and all that. What's one story that we could share with our guests when they're here? And maybe it's going to be, oh yeah, and we just it may come up and say, oh, you know what, the tree is up, and there, for everybody who's a new check-in, there's going to be a gift for everybody under the tree or something. But you can feed just snippets, little statements, a few words, and say you want it in an email, and you want this Christmas spirit, or you want, a very sophisticated spirit, and it will help get that message down to where you need it to be in a very short period of time, versus agonizing at 11 o'clock at night. What am I going to write for social media, or what am I going to do in these arrival notices for people coming in through the Christmas season? So it really can be used to help develop those stories that guests want to hear. And it can say, how can I describe it to a guest who's coming in and they've never seen snow before, or they've never done this, or how can we describe it to that guest? And the AI can help. So that can be done easily on a daily basis or a weekly basis, to start using it for messaging, and help weave that storytelling into, just regular marketing materials like social and email messaging.
So maybe there are some lagging in the meantime. It doesn't matter. We will continue. Let's make it practical for our viewers here. If someone's watching around a small inn or a rental, or maybe it's from DMO or DMC, what's the first thing they can do, let's say tomorrow morning, to boost their bookings?
Well, the first thing I would say, and this is going to sound like, oh, we're supposed to be talking about AI. Look at your website and go through the booking process. Where are the hiccups on that? Because if you're having trouble booking your place, then because consumers are going to have problems booking your place. So instead of adding on a bunch of new things first, is to take inventory into some of the foundational pieces you already have. Your website, look at your socials. If Instagram says your place is great for parties, but your website is saying it's peaceful and tranquil, there's two different messages going out there. So an AI can help you hone that in, but you really need to look at those foundational pieces to make sure all of that information is congruent, that the messaging is the same. And so there's something you guys can start to do tomorrow, if not today, and see if these baseline things are all incongruent, that the information is current. And it goes without saying, photos, your descriptions, when was the last time you updated descriptions and everything? And then with that, you can go into the next steps and say, all right, are we telling stories? What are our images on Instagram or Pinterest? What are they showing? And if they are not storytelling, you could upload a photo and say, here's a photo of a swimming pool at our property, and our ideal guests are these people. What can we tell them about this swimming pool that's going to make them want to be here? And, and it can be as simple as thinking about, our customers are all from Canada, and when they're escaping the snow, and they'll say, oh, this pool is heated and you are going to have a great experience being here on the beach or wherever and having that experience. So in taking an inventory of where you're starting from today, you can then take the next steps in crafting your messaging to start weaving in those stories and asking AI for ideas to help you change or tweak your messaging so it resonates best with your customers or ideal guests.
Excellent advice. To say it in like one sentence, you should be wrapping up and aligning actually your positioning and messaging, right?
Absolutely.
In separate. Yeah, okay. You have worked with. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Because I'm losing you a little bit. No worries. Now it's fine. You have worked with local chambers of commerce and destinations too. And how can collaboration between these tourism and hospitality teams make a difference? And what's one change that always delivers results within your experience and your knowledge and your expertise?
Thank you for asking that, because it's really one of my passion points, if you would, is I think that sometimes, depending on the size of the DMOs and the destinations or even chambers, is that it is the smaller and medium-sized businesses may not have the same opportunity to pay to play or participate, depending on what the model is for the organization. And these small and medium-sized businesses of any destination are the true gems because they're part of the story. And I think it's really important that these smaller businesses are given the opportunity to sit at the table and to be involved. And it can even go so simple as letting all these businesses know there's an event. Let's say it's a food festival event, is to let hospitality businesses know that it's going on with the details, give them the details, and kind of almost co-partner and tag each other on social media. And it is a vehicle for which the hospitality businesses, especially in lodging, can say, this event's coming up, and you know what? We're only a 10-minute car ride away, or you can walk to the event, and help drive reservations for the event, for the destination, and to use the same hashtags and really cross promote. That costs the destination and those properties, it costs nothing to cross promote. And you building a tighter foundation and collaboration between the destination or the chambers and these smaller businesses, which is part of why people are coming to an area. So I think that collaboration doesn't have to be expensive. It can just be a conversation and be starting off really easily. And those collaborations can grow even further. I will also say it helps keep the money within that destination and minimize the leakage, as smaller hospitality businesses are driving their own direct bookings and the destination. So it's keeping more of that money within the destination than going through like a big OTA.
Absolutely. I would like to call and invite our attendees. I believe I had some issues with the connection. Maybe I don't know, but to ask questions while you're here. Your expertise and your knowledge, unique knowledge, and your unique expertise is really gold. And they should use the momentum here that you're here with us. There's only one question here. I will put it on the screen afterwards before we wrap up. But I'm calling the attendees to ask questions to Kay, because believe me, it's a golden opportunity to use this momentum. So before we wrap up, you have prepared a couple of great resources for our audience. Can you tell us briefly about them? I know there is a 30-minute direct booking playbook and personas to profit. Can you just in few sentences explain them?
Sure. The direct booking playbook, which is actually, it's a collection with including resources and everything. They are tools and AI prompts to help you start using AI within your business to help build your brand, and with the ultimate goal to drive more direct bookings. The other downloadable ebook I have is Personas to Profit, and this is how to use AI to develop the persona of your ideal customer. And that includes not only their psychographics, but their demographics as well, so that you can position your property correctly with your ideal customers and help craft that message so that it resonates the best. So there's a lot of information packed in there. And I will say, anybody who downloads it, you have questions, you can always reach out to me on them. But they're a great resource to get your toes in the water when it comes to using AI for messaging and marketing and storytelling.
So believe me, folks, for anyone watching live or replay, you can DM Kay directly here on LinkedIn, of course, and with the keywords direct booking or profit or whatever you like, but that's the most convenient. And she will share those free resources with you after the show. So be free to DM Kay directly, and believe me, it will be worth it. That's also a great way to connect with her and to keep improving your brand visibility, which is super crucial. So to wrap up, I usually do this. I usually say and highlight the three key things, which Kay has reminded us all, and you will, of course, say, is it correct? The first one would be storytelling still builds trust better than any ad. AI is powerful, but only when it amplifies your authentic voice. And hospitality, at its core, it's still about people, not algorithms. Is this true?
No, you said it so much more eloquently than I did, and thank you for summarizing it. Great, but it's really the heart of everything that I do, and certainly the message that I certainly want to get across to everybody today in speaking with you, Ivan.
As I mentioned, the pleasure and honor was, and it is still mine. Of course, this is not the only possibility to be in touch with you via this kind of, let's say, podcast or show, whatever, webinar. We can do it on a regular basis if we are up to in a couple of months, or we will agree on it. Of course, the audience should say if they're interested or not for this type of conversations with you. I believe they should be. So thank you, Kay, for being such a generous guest, of course, and for everything you have done for our industry, so to say, or for the industry. It's not only ours, for the industry itself, over the past 3 decades.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone watching. Thank you for joining us live or catching up the replay afterwards. If you joined late, of course, the full replay will stay here on LinkedIn, but I will recommend you also to follow my LinkedIn profile and my also resources like newsletter and everything else. I will send this replay on YouTube with Kay, and you will have opportunity to rewatch it again. So if you find this the value in this kind of conversation, follow, of course, Kay and me here on LinkedIn and click attend. So on the AI Tourism Talks page to get notified about the next session. And of course, the next episode will be on Thursday, November 27th. I would say it will be a mystery guest. Also at 5 p.m. UK time, which is the regular time for AI Tourism Talks. So thank you once again to all of you. Until then, I like to say, stay curious, stay creative, and remember, travel still has soul. Is this right?
Okay. Absolutely.
Great. So see you next time on AI Tourism Talks. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Kay, once again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.